special right triangles. Ooh. Good morning, friends. We're going to keep exploring our triangles today, and we're going to start it off with the Pythagorean theorem. I have total faith that you've seen this before in other math classes, and it is not strictly a geometry thing. It's very famous. I've heard you recite it before, but the only way it works, and the only thing that we're working with from now on, because we are trigonometrists, is right triangles. So if it's not a right triangle, we are not doing what we're supposed to be doing, and it probably won't work. So first off, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, the extremely famous Pythagorean theorem. The one that we need to watch is c. C is always the hypotenuse, and aka the longest side. So whichever side of the triangle is the longest, that is got to be our C. If it's not our C, then we are messing up the equation and it doesn't work. The other thing to think about is that the hypotenuse is always opposite the right angle. So, since the right angle in a right triangle is the largest angle default, it's always going to be opposite the longest side. And just a couple quick examples of this. If I was looking for x here, well, what's my longest side? It's definitely x, so I'm going to go ahead and put x squared on this outside part because that's my c. Then I've got 10 squared plus 24 squared. Next up, we're just going to square these numbers. I get 100 plus 576 equals x squared. I'm going to add them together. And one of the biggest problems I see people do at this point is say, oh, just divide. No, don't divide. We're not dividing. The opposite of squaring something is square root. And once I square root it, I end up getting 26 equals x. Boom. Now see, I would venture that a lot of people would say, oh, there's x. I'm going to go x squared equals 15 squared plus 9 squared. And I hope you already realize this. No! Why is this a massive no? Well, if you look closely, this would be the right angle, yeah? And they will always be clearly labeled and everything. But this is the right angle, and it's opposite 15, which means that 15 has to be the longest side. And I don't feel that we really need to do this one too, but it would be more like this. This up here, pure wrong. Biggest pitfall. All right, let's just finish it out. I get 81 plus x squared equals 225. When I subtract 81 from both sides, because I want to get x squared by itself, all right, we're going to move up here. And I end up with x squared equals 144. And the opposite of squaring is square rooting. And we end up with x equals 12. Be careful. The opposite side I keep talking about is exactly what it sounds like. If I was looking at angle P, we would go across the way. It's the side across from the angle, just like this arrow is implying. And also notice that side SR, it's not a part of the actual angle P. Whereas like SP and RP, they are sides of the angle. SR doesn't really have anything to do with it. Also, the way I like to think about it is if I made angle P bigger, if I made the actual angle larger, SR would immediately become a longer side because of it, because they have that relationship. So for angle P, the opposite side is going to be side SR. And we sort of just answered this question, but angle size and the side lengths correspond, meaning that the shortest side is opposite the smallest angle. You can see that here with angle P. Whoa. Angle P is the smallest angle in this triangle, and SR is the smallest side. So that means that the longest side, the hypotenuse usually, is across from the, I'm going to write it down here, largest angle. And in the case of the right triangles we're using, it always means that it's the right angle. Okay, so the first one is a 45, 45, 90 triangle. And as you can see, we've got our x here and our x here. Because they're both 45, their opposites are also going to be congruent sides. So if this one is any number, then this side will be that same number. Now, the leap of faith that I was talking about, you have to trust me on x root 2. If this number is any number, therefore x, then this side is also going to be the same number, x. And then you can multiply that number by the square root of 2, and you get the side length for this hypotenuse. There is a long proof. It's on the board. You can talk to me about it if you want. Otherwise, don't worry about it. Now let's try one. All right, here we go. Let's try if this is 7. Well, I know from what we just learned that this side and this side have to be the same. So if that side's 7, then I got this side's got to be 7. Now, because of what I had my x is 7, my other x is 7, and then the only one we're missing is x root 2. And this means that I can take that 7 that I know x equals, and I can put it into this equation, and I end up with 7 times the square root of 2. So this side is going to be 7 root 2. The square root of 2 is a number. It's 1.414 something, but it's so much easier to say root 2 than for me to keep saying 7 times 1.41, or even worse, to give that long decimal as an answer. So for this quiz and for these assignments, 7 root 2 is the answer I'm looking for, even though technically that would be something along the lines of, I don't know, 9 point something, blah, 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 that I don't want to read. The second sort of triangle we're going to look at is a 30, 60, 90. And the special relationship this one has is that if this short side is x, well, then every single time the hypotenuse is twice as long as this shorter side. So once again, maybe we're given this short side, well, then I know that this hypotenuse is going to be twice as long as the short side. And then again, we have to trust me and know that this is going to be x times the square root of 3. So let's try one. Okay, so basically, we've got our x, we've got our 2x, and we've got our x square root of 3. Now, let's say that this little guy down here is 8. Well, that means that my x is going to be 8. Well, what does that mean in relation to the rest of these? Well, I see an x here and an x here, and I have my x. Therefore, I can say, okay, if x is 8, then I can say that 2 times 8 is going to be 16, and that would be my side length. Now, for the last one, we don't even need to do any multiplication. We just say, I know that x equals 8. And since x equals 8, I'm going to take that 8, I'm going to put it right in front of root 3. And that's the answer. We're not doing any more calculations than this. We're just saying that, oh, x is 8. We already know that. And so I'm going to take that 8, I'm going to put it in front of my root 3, and I'm going to get the answer 8 root 3. The actual answer is some long, annoying decimal, but this is perfect because I don't want to write that. This has been the best day of my life. I love you all. Good night.